Very good. Dance pop. No, feeding the ducks is done. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of 0xResearch live stream. Ian, what the hell were you up to?
What are you talking about? Did we not just start?
No, we've been waiting for you.
Let me hop on for a second.
It's 10 o'clock.
I want to hop on for a second and say that Ian's eating sardines for breakfast when I talked to him. Right when I woke up.
I was busy just tucking into some tinned fish, Bach, if that's all right with you.
It is not all right with me. That is yucky.
You should share with the class, Ian, to be honest. That's kind of rude.
I'll
make sure to bring enough sardine for everyone next time.
That's a low point even for the British breakfast.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that he actually was just searching for his Kairos research t-shirt and not
this.
Yeah. Very, very good. Okay. I'm gonna have to do most of the talking. I can't just rely on Danny because I threw this on his calendar in the last 18 minutes. I want to talk about a few things. Let's start off with Ethena, because I assume Ian posted the slop thread and not you.
Yeah, any slop is Ian. Any great content is probably me.
Ian, do you want to give a short rundown of your slop and then we can talk about it? Or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, talking about my slop sounds really good.
One sec. Danny, did you know that there are actually 2 Kairos researches?
Wow, really?
Yeah. Ian and Teddy.
You can't say which one is better. We can't say that.
Is this like a token and equity thing, or
No, it's not. It's
you guys
like
copycatting?
It's like a US and Mexico thing, kind of.
All right. There we go. This is the slop account. Let's run it.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, we just kind of noticed well, first of all, I guess last week I read this report that ASXN had put out, which was on kind of everything Ethena. And then obviously when funding rates pick up, the yield, I guess, that can be generated on USDE picks up a lot. So you see kind of an influx of people minting USDE, and so that's going to be a like primary revenue driver for the protocol. But also, we kind of noticed it was like one of their 5 key things to get their fee switch activated. The other 4 being for 250 million. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for the assistance there. 250 million. You said what?
I noticed your voice started to crack, so I had to come in to help out.
That's just the sardines in my throat. But yeah, so the $250 million cumulative protocol revenue is another one. And then like the 6 billion threshold for circulating supply of USDE. And then the other 2 that haven't been hit yet is SEX adoption. So right now, only 3 of the 5 largest centralized exchanges by derivatives volume are integrated. And then the last one, of course, is like the spread between other DeFi benchmarks. So the main ones they look at, to my understanding, is like what SUSDS is paying out. So essentially, like what is the new version of DAI or SDAI in this case. And then also like what's the supply side APY for Aave. And then also like what's the, 3 to 6 month like Treasury bill yield. But yeah, the spread is increasing across all of those. So I think that's one that can get hit. But I thought the really interesting thing in that slop post was the second slop chart, which shows the change in TVL of like USDE and then USDS. So essentially, like obviously, Maker / Sky always becomes like a really popular asset when everything else is not doing great, because like they've essentially got the best proxy, I'd say, for like the risk-free rate on chain, because they have so many integrations like RWAs and kind of some other unique things they can do to generate yield from like a protocol standpoint. But I thought like the trade-off there was pretty interesting, which you can see kind of again and again in the chart. Both of them obviously just going higher and higher as like DeFi overall grows. But yeah, I think it's a good sign.
One thing I wanted to ask about is I think that had the SUSDE TVL in there. Would it be better, and this might be a question for everyone too, just to have the USDE TVL? Because technically Ethena is still, I mean, like from a yield chaser perspective, obviously, yes, USDE is where you'd go. But from just like a purely Ethena revenue standpoint, I guess they don't care if people don't stake. It's probably better for them.
They built the Treasury with regular USDE, right, Ian? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, to my understanding, yeah, because they take the 10 bip fee on mints. So, I mean, that should be what it's in, but I'm not sure if they've done any like Treasury diversification or anything like that. But I think you're right.
I meant to write about Ethena and USDE this week, and I was thinking of comps, and there really aren't that. Like Maker is one, I think, a very obvious one. But apart from that, like I don't want to write about Frax as a comp,
Yeah, it almost seems like just vaults rather than stable coins would be the closest comps. I would say, like, I don't think there's another stable coin that kind of is positioned like they are.
I don't even know if, it's also like interesting because like it's not like you can just take the idea and then launch it on a new chain, because there's so many pieces that are actually needed for Ethena to like, be what it is. Like you need like the like top tier people that are actually executing all of these like trades on these multiple venues and all these other things. You need the attestations, you need like kind of the legitimacy there. And then also like they're doing it with multiple assets already. So it's not like they need to be on X chain to do this. So like, it's going to be kind of hard to copy that. I actually don't know if anyone has like tried to compete with them in that exact same regard of like tokenizing the basis trade.
I saw a few Coliseum hackathon teams going for Ethena, but on Solana. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it would be very difficult to get that. off the ground. I mean, you need like, first of all, you need Pendle to grow the way that Ethena grew. And then you also need Ethena's contacts, which I imagine is mostly like impossible to get. I actually don't know how useful of a product it would even be if it wasn't like the sex integration is the main thing there, right? It's nothing else. Like you really need to get those contacts and then work through that. It doesn't matter. Like I bet it could probably launch on Solana and do at least relatively well, but
like, I think I don't even think it matters of like where the like it can be like chain agnostic anyways. Like if you could mint like USDE anywhere, like that's great, because like they're going to be doing this with like, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and then I assume like whoever else ends up joining the ranks there. Maybe probably Hyperliquid is my guess of like someone who would be able to join the ranks there. Just another thing that was interesting though, like I noticed that Hyperliquid is no longer listed on Ethena's website in terms of venues where they were like essentially like the venues that they've been utilizing, which is kind of interesting because like by volume, at least like that has to be top 5 in terms of like perp volume, where they can actually like execute these kinds of trades. And like, so I don't know if you guys heard anything about that. I don't know if it's like a UI thing they're cleaning up right now.
it was listed on it previously.
It was,
but I don't even think it was listed as one of the venues of hedging, right? It wasn't listed as anything else. I don't know. I heard rumors like of Ethena. Well, they bought the ticker USDE for Hyperliquid, and that they were going to launch USDE margined perps on Hyperliquid. I am not sure if that's still the case because they have Ethereal building on Converge, obviously, and they have like a massive deposits program. I think it's like 500 million USD, and those are the XSNX synthetics guys that are building that. But that's one of the things I like about Ethena is like they seem relatively agnostic to who they support and who they don't support. Like they're just like, we want to be on as many chains as possible, as many lending venues as possible. We don't really care about like ideological picks. Just like whatever can make USDE useful, while obviously like not bringing massive risk into the protocol and collateral.
mm-hmm.
Something kind of cool for Ethena right now too is like finally this Ethereum move has made ETH funding rates like consistently positive for the first time in many months. And so like not only the increase in open interest lets them play around a little bit with different sizing on those positions, but like material funding rates let them be much more competitive on yield, I think. So like being able to expand outside of Bitcoin and into Ethereum and Solana more for several months is kind of a cool.
Yeah. One thing Guy brought up when I had him on the pod was that two things. First of all, they are moving off of staking yield on Ethena. Like it's now like sub 5% of the yield that they get. And that's purely because they don't think it's worth the incremental risk and duration and complexity that it brings. Like, what is it, 2% or whatever it is? Like the ETH staking yield, they're trying to move off of it. And the second thing is, I don't know if you guys remember, there was like a massive liquidation cascade a few months back. They actually ended up making money on that. He dives into how they end up making money on that. But like volatility is also, like apart from funding rates becoming positive, they also make money on volatility because sometimes they are on the correct side. But I guess that's mostly with shorts. So I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, I saw that. They were like, I think they were able to capture like 700K protocol revenue, but I believe like the total amount that could have been captured if they were to unwind it all, like in like a much shorter time duration, I think would have been like in the millions. But yeah, it is kind of interesting that revenue source exists. I think that's a really good post by Connor, their head of research on it as well. But I think that was also in that report I mentioned. at the beginning. But I think like them getting off of LSTs makes a lot of sense. Something else I thought is really interesting right now. It's like even though like it's above 6 billion, like 2.4 billion of that is still sitting in stable coins right now. Like that's not even all like fully deployed. So like a third of all of the capital backing it is like still in stables, which I think is kind of interesting there. But like only ballpark looks like just under 400 million is actually in like ETH LSTs right now. So I think it's the right choice there to kind of like get out of there. I don't think it's worth like the incremental risk either. Like I do think there's been some improvements since I guess like the last big blow we saw with like LSTs and like liquidation cascades with all that was probably like FTX. But I think like there's some improvements that have happened around that, like with Aave referencing like the actual market or the value of these tokens rather than like the market price of them, because the market price is obviously going to be dependent upon like liquidity, and these aren't necessarily the most liquid things despite having the word liquid in their name. So like there is going to be someone who's going to be able to like unwind those and take like whatever duration risk they need. But yeah, I don't think it makes sense for them to keep those.
Danny, you wanted to there we go.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going after tickers on other exchanges as well. USDE on the NASDAQ. You guys have thoughts on the Treasury company? I guess they're doing a SPAC deal with TLGY Acquisition Corp. But it's going to be called Stablecoin X with ticker USDE. $360 million pipe deal with 1/3 of the capital coming from like locked, discounted ENA tokens, and then the rest being in cash. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts here? Like we just mentioned a bunch of things that are seemingly positive, but is getting into the Treasury game, like, does it tarnish the brand image at all, or is it like go ahead and get that money?
I see it. I mean, I'm not like genuinely excited about these Treasury companies by any means. Like I don't think we're doing something really beautifully innovative. But at the same point, like I could understand why, if everybody else is doing it, you'd be like, well, people know what they're getting into. It's like something we see all of our competitors doing, and many of the top 50 crypto. So it's like I could see why, and I could see why investors would push for it. They're like, it is an opportunity to get a lot of supply out of the market from something that everybody's doing. Would it be dumb not to? Maybe, but at the same time, I don't want to be like Sailor Pilled talking about how he has invented something that's truly one of a kind and like never been thought of before.
Yeah, I think we'll see more and more of these. I think Tau just had one, or like some form of Tau related one came out. Is like ENA and Tau the lowest market cap things that have had them yet, Danny, or have you heard of?
I think so. I know that we've got Sol, XRP, Hype, SWE. I don't know if I've seen anything smaller than like a Tau or an ENA. I guess the positive case you could make for the token is that they're using this vehicle as like a buy up tokens and lock them away in this treasury, and then they can sell the shares on the open market, but the tokens stay locked. So I guess maybe that's a positive kind of like forward catalyst for the token if you kind of take away some unlocks from the chart.
I mean,
yeah, at the cost of retail, you get. Is this the only case where like? Well, I guess they can still go up. Ian, you probably have a better point. Please continue.
No, I was just gonna say actually like need to chew over it more. I feel like all the Treasury company things in general are like still don't know where I completely stand on those. Like I feel like there's probably a lot more than meets the eye for these things, because they seem, I mean, everyone kind of talks about them as if like they're like a sure thing, like it's like a low risk play, it's financial innovation. And so I kind of agree with Teddy's point. Like I don't think like these are like the most beautiful things man has ever created in financial markets.
That would be
And-
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Continue.
Anyways,
Yeah,
but
I
like,
think
I
it-
guess the only other- this is good, guys.
as
Go
long as
ahead,
you
Jake.
Let's
issuing
fucking
as long as you're issuing shares and not like going further and further out the risk curve, trying to find any way to like lever up, I think that for the token itself, it's better. And it is a supply sink in that sense. But if you like are trying to continue to raise preferred at worse and worse terms, then at some point it's probably not a supply sink, and we see it go the opposite way. But
Okay. Ian, do you want to have a chance to speak, or should we just move on? Move on. Okay. Very good. Teddy, moving forward, can you raise your hand so Ian can let you speak instead of you just dominating? All right. Very good. I want to also talk about Pump, but I'm afraid Ryan Connor might get a little bit upset, but it should be fine. I posted Slop this morning. Let me find this. Pump revenues are down market share wise from the professional podcaster, by the way. There we go. Bam. Pump revenues are market share of revenue amongst launchpads is down from 78% to 14%. Let's Bonk is now at 62% of revenue. This is just daily stuff. And Radium's at 12%. I'm also seeing. I also want to get you guys' take on this. I saw MLM posted about this fund that put in 140 mil into the Pump ICO, and they've like sold 100 mil or so over the past 3 days. I'm curious, like, that's the team's fault, in my opinion. Do you guys think they just don't have like some social vesting contract thing? And then B, where does Pump go from here? And I feel like that's more of a Danny question.
I'll take the first one. I think if you give people the opportunity to buy at 4 billion and it launches at 6 billion, and then you have 0-day vesting, I think there's an incentive to sell there. That might be a hot take, but I think if you are at a higher price than what you got in at, and you have, like no like vesting of any sort, it totally makes sense to dump there. If like you're able to put on that kind of trade in that kind of size on that sort of a duration, I think it makes sense. Should they have done better like vesting schedules around this? Maybe. I don't know. Like, we still haven't even heard from the team. We have no idea what the team thinks about any of this stuff. We have no idea what they're doing about buybacks. They've been completely silent. Well, yeah. I mean, he said he was going. What was I can't remember the phrase. He said he was going some sort of mode. But I mean, that was that's all we got. That's what we're working with. Like, and then like, I'm sleuthing like Soul Scan, just like refreshing this and a bunch of like ARC alerts to try to figure out what they're doing. It'd be nice if they just kind of came out and said what they want to do. The 0-day vest could be just like an interesting way for them to get money quick, and like, they're still only like slightly below where they like TGE'd at, and I think like that just kind of makes it look like every other TGE we've seen in the past, call it 2 years roughly. Like, the only one that really stands out to me is like Hype. So like, I don't know. We'll see if the team gives some signal, and then I think like if the team gives some actual signal and some good comms on like what their plans are, investors I think would know how to adjust accordingly. But I think right now it's like everyone's looking at that chart that you just shared, Bach, and I think there's kind of like like trying to underwrite their investment. It's kind of hard to do so when you're losing a ton of market share. The team just raised $1 billion and they're completely silent. Like, I think people want more here.
Yeah, I think if you can put in 140 mil, exit in 2 days, and get 50% on it, Like you'd be stupid not to sell.
Yes, correct.
I feel like I made this point a week or two ago, Bach, and you were like, nah, man, who's going to sell for plus 50%? That's so fucking stupid. But here we are, and
Ryan
I'm
was in
sure
my
some of them have. Ryan was in your head. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Ian there, like completely. If you're, I mean, you can imagine if you're in massive size into this thing with no lockup and you just made, 8 to 9 figures on this literal, 2 to 3 day trade, basically, right? Committed the capital and then got to exit at the open of the market. I don't see why you wouldn't like that could be your returns for the entirety of the year or the past few years potentially, given how I think we've seen how some funds performances have looked in recent years. They've been struggling, I think, along with plenty of retail folks in this market. So that doesn't surprise me at all. But I'd also agree with Ian. Like, I don't know, it doesn't. We knew what the headwinds were, right? Like the timing of like Bonk kind of and Radium sort of taking over the market. It's a risk. I think you kind of have to figure out like how you want to price that potentially. I mean, they've taken market share in the past few weeks, like month. So is that something that lasts forever, or can Pump kind of like fight back and recapture? I think one of the ideas that I've talked about on like what's a step forward for them is, we see that it seems like whatever Bonker Radium, like this strategy that they've affected is getting the mass slop industrial complex token creators like to create on their platform rather than on Pump. So if there's a means for kind of Pump to recapture those people or just like turn on their own slot machines, like you just need to have the tokens on your platform. I know like from a data perspective, the amount of tokens getting created across the platforms has been basically flat. Like we basically just went from like 40K being made on Pump to now it's like 30K on Bonk and less than 10 on Pump. So if they need to just turn on the token printer, like maybe that's one piece of the puzzle. But they have a token now. They have a ton of cash. Like incentives, people love incentives in this industry. I mean, he's doing blank mode and it pumps the chart like when the buys go in, but maybe there's more to be done from an incentive game perspective to like get more people going. Like Bonk, I think the big thing is that Bonk kind of has the flywheel right now in terms of like if you look at the metrics, more of the volumes there, more of the tokens are there, more of the tokens that are going up in like the past few weeks are there. So it's like if you're a trader, you want to trade the coins that are going to go up.
Yeah.
To be fair, graduation rate on both, I checked this morning, it's around the same, but
it's similar, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like if everybody's talking about bonk coins, it doesn't matter what the graduation rate is. Did you guys see that tweet of it's this guy? And he was like, yeah, I ran it down to 0, but I ran it back up to 22K. And then he like writes up a thread about how he just like mass launched tokens, bought 10%, and then just sold them. And then he was like, this is how you can make it all back. And somebody was like, you're just rugging people. He's like, it's not rugging. I'm creating tokens.
He's a creator.
Oh, so yeah, Danny. First of all, I agree with you, just because your points are good, but also I'm now afraid to disagree with you on this because last time I was just horribly, horribly wrong.
I was gonna say, I think that Danny's right. Like a degenerate idea. I mean, it's a degenerate platform, but like the degenerate idea would be coming up with incentives to get like the better creators to launch there by saying, oh, if you hit certain metrics, we'll buy X% of your token or we'll reward you. And this means like I think that there's pretty cool ways to create a flywheel in that arena. With the $1 billion in cash that they have and multi-billion dollars in their token to kind of at least motivate people to launch better tokens there. And then it doesn't matter if they have 100% of market share as long as they have kind of mind share from the larger traders too.
Yeah, I feel like, and they've been maybe teasing some ideas here. Like I've seen, if you guys have seen like their CTO thing where they're like redirecting the fees from tokens to like the kind of if there's like a new community lead or like a new kind of like top creator for a coin, they'll partner with them and then like redirect the fees at that. And I also saw, and I don't know if it's real because I didn't actually look, but people commenting on like Elon purchasing random meme coins and like varying amounts. Maybe to Teddy's point around like if you like invest in and buy the coins on the platform of the big communities, like maybe that gets people excited. But yeah, I agree in both directions there. I think the other one like that I mentioned before is like they could just make their own token printer, like just have a team that spins those out, and just run it yourself. That's always an option.
But they have to. Well, I guess they don't have to sell to make money, right? There's fees now.
They don't have to sell because they already make money on the trading volume. So like they could just create them and potentially even take away some of the like dumping on people's heads risk of the mass token farmers.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's something Ryan always brings up. He's like, there needs to be more curated, like approved tokens. Like it would just be so much. If Pump launched a coin that was, what was the most recent one? Like, let's say, I don't want to give any tickets, whatever. Like Ian Unsworth token versus like
That's going live now. I'm launching it.
Some random creator created Ian Unsworth. I'd probably buy the Pump one just because I know that they likely won't sell, although I'm not sure.
It's interesting because like some competing platforms have tried to launch on this concept of, you know, all the tokens that launch, like instead of us just grabbing trading fees and like dumping the coins, you know, we'll give, I'm trying to remember the names of some of the platforms that have launched, like maybe Flaunchy on Base is one where it was like, you know, all the fees earned can then be like basically sent to buy back the token and burn it or whatever. It's funny because those never worked because they just didn't have, there wasn't like an existing network of people trading them and it didn't play out. But like if you're Pump and you like already have this brand, like you might actually be able to just run a model like that and it could like reignite the excitement around trading the assets.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is kind of not on the list of things I wanted to talk about initially, but I saw Espresso launched their initial coin offering at 400 mil FTV, vested 1 year. I'm curious if any of you guys are interested in this and if you guys remember what Espresso is now doing. Ian launched.
He died.
Ian left as soon as
I'll
you
be frank. Like my understanding of Espresso was rooted back in like 2022 or 3. So I did not even know necessarily what they were up to today. I think the big question mark for me is like, and ICO, like, here's the thing is like, I like this trend back towards sales and ICOs. I think they're awesome. This might not be the one for me personally, given that I couldn't even have told you before this morning asking in the 0xResearch Telegram chat what Espresso does today. But I don't know, the valuation and like being pre-product and like in kind of an unproven thing entirely feels kind of shaky to me. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have a working product that people use. I could be wrong on that, but I think 400 million seems a bit steep, right? They've raised a lot of money as well. Like, I think they've done all the way to a Series B. Surely they've raised probably close to probably just under 100. So
yeah, they raised 28 in Series B back in 2024, early 2024, led by
Andreessen Horowitz.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The Eigen Espresso combo back in March 2024. They returned the fund.
Yeah, incredible work, team. Hats off to the team. But like in all seriousness, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I have never understood the value prop of a shared sequencer. Like if you're an L2, it's like, don't you want to have full like sovereignty over your ordering, your sequencing? I don't completely get why you'd want to hand that off to someone. What were you going to say, Teddy?
They're apparently not a shared sequencer anymore. I see them getting very mad about people calling them that on Twitter pretty often.
So what do they?
Wait, what's the
do?
product now?
So they have a question on their frequently asked list that says some chains may use Espresso as a decentralized sequencing layer, but this is not a prerequisite of leveraging Espresso. It's like a confirmation layer, I guess, is now what they're doing. So I think for like cross-chain transactions, they provide confirmations. They said that's still technically a shared sequencing layer.
What does that mean? It's like a bridge, but not even?
Yeah, the Espresso network does not yet support sophisticated cross-chain building to fulfill user intents. It's planned for the future, contingent upon demand.
Here's the struggle that I have is I think, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of pivots are just happening in the history of this one, but like the biggest thing is I think they kind of had a vision around like rollups and like playing a part in what that future stack looked like. But it seems like that vision of roll-up future has kind of changed over the past few years quite a bit. Like I think a large part of the industry has completely transitioned back away from that. And so now like they're maybe trying to find a right fit there. I think Ian's point as well is like maybe the bigger kicker here is like you've done a bunch of rounds and raises in the past. Like maybe this is like a very stupid and like kind of silly retail view, but like I'd like to do the ICO at the first raise, the initial round, at a much lower valuation for something that's like an idea pre-product, very early stages, rather than at 400 mil after all the investors got to do multiple rounds at lower vals.
Daniel, if I may, I have one take on this is even if the market hadn't moved away from rollups, which I think you can kind of take the stance that rollups may not have become like the best, but they're still relevant, like base, arbiter, etc. These are still relevant. And we still see like new rollups launching more relevant. Like I would say Robinhood is a more relevant rollup than what was previously launched, or like what they will launch eventually. Anyway, we found out that these L2s make a lot of money from sequencers. So like Ian said, I don't know if this is affected by decentralized sequencing. I imagine that Espresso would end up taking some cut of whatever sequencer revenue like an L2 makes. So why would an L2 give that up? And I think the main thing here is that people actually don't necessarily care about credibly neutral interoperability. They mostly, like people mostly use intents now. I only use intents. I don't know if you guys also only use intents, but like I use dbridge across mainly those two. And I can do whatever I need to do without some like fancy whatever confirmation layer that's neutral and credibly neutral and everything has to work perfectly. No, like this works well enough. I send money on the other chain, somebody fills me 1%.
Getting Phil, you're letting another.
The solve is, yeah, but it just works. Like it's sub 1 second. Do you guys remember when you were rushing to deposit into Anchor from Solana and it took you literally 3 days and you had to go on the Wormhole Discord and beg them to release your money? You know, and that was like professional. But people just want easy UX, and intents do that. Nobody really cares about fancy fucking middleware. And this is something Daniel Smith 8 months ago, when he would still talk about Ethereum, now he doesn't even mention it. He would always say this thing: the entire like Ethereum new protocols landscape, this was EigenLayer, Espresso, Astria, whatever, is like dominated by like we're creating infrastructure for the sake of creating more infrastructure on top of it. I think Espresso is one of those things. Now, yeah, I don't think the future is that, but for a time being, it was very, very difficult.
I think that's totally the right take for like things like this. And we'll probably even see it with like L1s, like any sort of infrastructure, like you're never going to be like the primary spot of value accrual in the long term, I would imagine. It's like whatever is going to be built on top of you. So I mean, yeah, again, 400 million seems steep.
Yeah, I want to echo Bach's point. Like, I just think product just matters more than ideology, and it, to all the points you made about, like, you know, incredibly neutral, this, that, or the other thing. Like, you're right. People just don't, like, just let me swap my thing or trade it or bridge it across, like you mentioned with Intense, and make the product experience better than it's been in the past. And so I don't know. I think if something here hinges on the fact of it being like this ideological design choice rather than like a product or user focused one, I'd be concerned. But also, like, I feel like what we've seen in the roll up market as well is like Base running on a centralized sequencer operated by Coinbase. Like, people don't, the market clearly is telling us that they don't care that much about this like neutrality aspect. Like, if stuff's happening on Base and it's high value and people are happy to go ahead and throw their money on there, then the market is making a decision about that point.
Yeah, and like if you want neutrality, you can just use ETH mainnet. And I find that people who want neutrality really only want like a few things. They want to be able to send money from X to Y, and mostly deal with stable coins and borrowing, lending. And Ethereum has all of that. So, like you said, Danny, like if you're bridging over to an L2, you don't necessarily like you accept that there will be trust assumptions, and like potential centralization at the, because you need the speed and the efficiency and whatever, like you need the activity. And I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to like try and solve for something. I will say one thing is I like that Ethereum and L2s are kind of coming, they're kind of working out now. Like for a few years, it was like we got a lot of Blockworks research got a lot of shit about L2s, but I think objectively we were correct. A, Sol went up, Corellians, and ETH was down and sideways. B, a lot of the L2s that came out were just generalized random L2s versus now I feel like we're like Robinhood's L2 that will be coming eventually, and whatever they're issuing stocks on, and markets on Arbitrum. So that's one. Converge, etc., I think will be relatively interesting. Like bringing over institutional capital and real world assets into L2s kind of makes sense. I know there's this argument like you want to be close to other assets. I think just like we think that L2s want control of their sequencers, I imagine institutions want more control over the chain as opposed to whatever generalized other L1s have. And I think L2s are probably the best way to do that now. I would say it would probably be L1s, and I'm sure there's like a Cosmos Maxi will be like, you're an idiot. We've done this on Cosmos SDK like 8 years ago, and you'll be right, but like L2s just work better now. So I guess my end here is that I'm happy that we've moved away from the Espresso style infrastructure plays as well as the other L2s that weren't very relevant. And Ethereum's kind of coming more and more together. I don't know about the valuation. I haven't looked into it. Ian made a very good point this morning, which was like, you can quote REB as much as you want, but they're going on Squawk Box and yelling about Ethereum. And I feel like it's difficult to value one or the other just because the market's still kind of small. A lot of nonsense coming from me. Please give me.
Yeah, I'll add one point. I think like with the ETH sort of reacceleration POV that like the foundation is taking, you'd probably have to be a little bit more short like infra for rollups than you would have been prior to this like change in kind of approach, right? But when ETH was like, okay, everything's going to rollups, like we're going to do millions of rollups, all activity to rollups, like, and then of course we need some interop between them, then like awesome, like full steam ahead. But I think with the more recent, like, let's bring some, you know, faster blocks, small, you know, bigger blocks, faster blocks, whatever, higher gas to mainnet and have this thing, you know, actually advance in scale and size and throughput. It puts a little bit of like a short on roll up infra.
Yeah. especially, again, it can be solved so quickly just by using intents.
I think crypto is the only industry too where some of this like very, very niche middleware gets brought up with like hundreds of thousands of followers and like does a public token raise and expects people to understand like what they're buying. And I think that's part of the issue too. It's like you can't expect just hundreds of thousands of people to be excited about your infrastructure that is so far above their heads like that. And it's, I don't know, it gets marketed more than maybe it should. And that's probably why people are a little put off by some of that stuff rather than just building a product that, sure, it makes money. And at some point, people are going to be interested because it makes money, but they shouldn't be excited about the product that they don't understand.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Does anyone, I guess, like last thing on them, then we can probably segue away from them because I don't think they're too interesting. How much were they raising?
Sorry, what?
How much were they raising in the ICO?
I don't know. It's on Kaido. That's why I wanted to bring it up. It's like Kaido's first ICO launch.
Ah,
I think it was only 4 mil, like a small amount.
Okay, that's safe.
Very good. That's very good. Would you say that changes your investment thesis on this, Ian?
Not at all, but I was more worried about it not getting filled.
Okay.
I think it'd just be kind of, you don't want projects to completely fail, obviously, but like, and I wish them all the best, but anyways, I was looking at some data around the fandom integration for Hyperliquid. Was like, I didn't realize that there's a website, flowscan.xyz, that you can see like the revenue by people that are using builder codes for Hyperliquid.
Yes.
Sorry if you didn't want to segue to this, Bach. I just had it pulled up already.
I really want to segue into anything Hyperliquid related. Let's talk about
it. If you guys had to guess how much revenue Phantom has made from this so far on, I think it looks like it's $1.4 billion of volume they've done through the Phantom app, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, how much revenue do you guys think they've made since they launched this a couple of weeks ago?
Probably like 600K, 700K.
Yeah, you're spot on, Bach. That's really good. 727K.
How did I do that?
That was really good. It's kind of surprising as well because like there's 15K users, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Hyperliquid, last I heard, like didn't have actually a ton of users, account wise. Am I wrong on that? Or did they have like hundreds of thousands of users? My understanding was like,
wait, let me
they had like a relatively large, I guess, crypto amount of users, but like relatively small amount of like consumer product users, just because it's perpetual futures. There's not a lot of people trading these, but
before Danny Smith beats me with a club, when we say users, we're talking about wallets.
Yeah. But still, it's like, I think with stuff like this, it's like you're probably less likely to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 8 wallets, but yeah. So it says Hyperliquid, based on their like dashboard, it has 570,000 users.
Okay, that's a lot more than I thought. But like when they did their airdrop, how many? Wasn't it like 30K users? Anyways, I think 15K users just from the Phantom integration on Hyperliquid is like pretty good for a product that's been around for less than a month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then like, yeah, $1.4 billion of volume through a wallet mobile interface is pretty crazy. Like that's really nuts to me. Well,
James Kristoff is 100 to 200 million.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. They didn't account for the JC coefficient. Can we get some annualizers in the chat?
Are we annualizing the 733K?
Well, I think even better than that. I think we should annualize their last week, which is set to be their best week ever. Yeah, exactly. Let's find their best 1 hour of revenue ever. Let's annualize that.
Let's do the last day where they made 175,000. 175 times 3, and holy fuck, they're printing.
Dude, so it actually has let me share this in the chat. This is super interesting. It has their top users the top user has done $42 million of volume through the mobile app with 1,200 transactions.
Dude, the craziest thing about doing it through the mobile app too is you're like very limited on like what you can do. Like you can't add margin. Like
Yeah.
like you can't pick a certain leverage. Like you have to either do 2 or 3 or 4 times. You can't do like 2.5 times leverage. So they're just trading in massive size.
Bro, that's so funny. I love this industry. So funny.
Which it is very simple too. Like I think that's exactly what Phantom should do if people want more customizability and to be in control of their $10 million position. Just use Hyperliquid interface. But if you're okay with kind of just ease of use,
yeah, if you're okay with no cost, like a very simple front end, and you want to pay 0.01% on open and close, just use fucking Phantom, you know. And it's 42 mil. But this is something we talk about a lot. It's like these types of guys who either don't understand, like they're just super rich and they don't care, or like they're super rich and they just don't understand still, who make majority of the protocol money. I think for every protocol, it's probably like it's just one guy who rich beyond anybody else can think, who's just like putting on 42 mil.
Well, and like Coinbase too, like their biggest winners are people using the swap function that are okay paying like 2 to 3% on their transactions, so they don't have to swap into US dollars before they buy another token.
Dude, it's all exchanges. When I first got into crypto, I was like, why the fuck am I like paying this amount of money for? Because I thought I had like the pro for Kraken, and then like depending on what interface you're on, like unless you're on pro.kraken or kraken.com, you get 3% or like 0.01%. It's ridiculous.
It's amazing that we scare people away from this industry.
One thing that I've said before is that crypto is just, you put, you know, those currency exchange desks at the airports where they we just put all of that on chain and then just annualize it and say, holy fuck, this is only at 14 PE. We need to buy this now. Quite fun.
Yeah, I mean, those are good businesses.
All right, last up, we did everything I wanted to do. I think if we don't do Talos, Riley's going to kill me. Does anybody have any thoughts, or do you think it's okay that I mentioned Talos multiple times?
I think you should bring on the off-chain labs guys and let them talk about that, honestly. Because I mean, it's a lot of excitement around it, because just I think it's like, one, it's like they're actually trying to do something legitimate with it. I think you saw a lot of like, obviously like there's like a whole kind of AI agent hype cycle last run up, specifically on Solana. And then I guess there was some stuff like that happened over on Base too, but this is like, I mean, I actually don't completely understand what it is. I think I actually need to kind of hear from the off-chain labs guys what it is and what it does, but it sounds like they have some like big plans for it, which is cool. So I think it's definitely worth checking out.
It is cool. Just as I probably should have done this way earlier, but I need to also put this like on my disclosures and stuff. But I don't get paid by them, but I am on their council, so technically I have motivation to help them. Just like for all listeners, so that you all know. But yeah, it's backed by off-chain. I'll talk about it a bit. So on-chain labs is off-chain labs' arm that wants to build applications on Arbitrum, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like, I think if you're an L2 labs team, you should probably focus on building. Like, I don't think enough people realize how much Solana and the Solana Foundation supported teams on their chain and protocols on their chain, either for capital or just like shouting people out. Versus on Ethereum, I feel like it's always been kind of like a no-no to be like, oh, like we want to be as neutral as possible. We don't ever want to support. I mean, they just like the foundation just deposited money onto Aave, which has been live since 2017 as ETHLend, and then they rebranded, etc. And they've had 4 product iterations since then, and then they just deposited recently. So I think I like what Arbitrum is doing in terms of on-chain labs. And yeah, the way that they explained it to me is, it is, you know how GOAT was fake, where it was like, you know what I mean? Like people were like, "Oh, this is AI," but it's not. It's just like Andy tweeting. This is not fake, and it's supposed to do treasury optimization and deposit, borrow, trade on Arbitrum. I need to have off-chain labs with people on, or on-chain labs people on, to talk about it properly, maybe for the next live stream. But I think that's, if you guys have any other questions, I can answer them. But
So, yeah, is this is this AI gonna have like complete control to just trade on chain? Like, is he just gonna fund up a perps wallet and lose it all, or?
that's what technically I'm just pulling up the questions that people ask, so people don't think I'm just like. To be fair, it is Riley who has been asking us for 3 days, but from what I understand and from what I've been told, it makes decisions, but initial stages the council has to approve it, so it can't just say I'm putting on $100 million on Pengu right now on short and get blown out. Not financial advice.
So it is like GOAT. They're filtering him.
In this,
I don't know. You said it wasn't like GOAT, but they're going to be filtering the AI.
I think it's more so it needs to be approved, which I think makes sense for all AI products. Danny, do you take Claude or whatever? Do you use ChatGPT mostly or Claude?
I've been using ChatGPT more recently.
Okay. Do you ask ChatGPT something and then immediately take that answer and slap it?
Like you do it immediately?
Yeah.
Yeah, frequently.
Danny's raw dogging AI. All right. Anyway, this has some guardrails initially. We'll see how it goes up. We'll see how it goes, not how it goes up.
To that point, I'm going to play the other side. Is I think it would be cool, like the inverse of what GOAT was, where we kind of had to trust that like Andy was prompting the thing and then giving us the results. If there's a way to just like do that prompt and answer, like, you know, save that into a block so people can see that on chain and like read that off, like, yes, this was the output of the recent decision to do XYZ, and you can verify that. That's cool to me.
That's a good idea. I think right now, actually, this is something I like. They don't want to do it on a governance forum. They want to do all discussion on Twitter, which I think is cool because I feel like nobody really goes on governance forums that much except for Ian, apparently.
I was going to say Ian does for sure.
Yeah, so it's not just dominated by nerds. We're going to do it on Twitter where it's more fun. That's a good idea. It should probably be posted on blocks.
Twitter's good though. Like I think that makes sense too, right? If you want to do some votes and some polling in a broader manner, because I would agree. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not looking at any of your forums, guys, unless I really need to read a post. That's
completely fair. And I think this brings me to one thing that I want to talk about. Somebody asked this question. They said, well, how do you guys do research? And I want to get the opposite take, the various takes here, because I feel like the research that Danny does versus the research that Teddy does versus the slop that Ian does is probably going to be quite different. So I want to understand how you guys use AI day to day. Apparently just asking and then copy pasting into research reports, or furthermore, what is like your main sources and what are you guys mainly looking at these days in terms of like where you're trying to find interesting, attractive stuff?
I can talk outside of crypto for 1 second on how I like for research and using AI. like if I'm working kind of in an industry that I don't understand, I do like using like ChatGPT deep research to write me a report, so then I can go down my own rabbit holes. And that's kind of like my introductory lesson is like, okay, it's going to write me a 5 or 6 page report and give me a whole bunch of sources that I can then track down and like ask people much smarter than me questions. And I think that's like the best way to be a research analyst, is to ask someone smarter than you to explain something. Like asking dumb questions usually is the best way to learn something.
Yeah, I'll agree and also disagree with Teddy. I do sort of the opposite thing, but I do find myself prompting quite frequently, but I actually don't like, for the sake of just like learning or finding new information, I actually don't like the deep research tool because I think that the outputs are too long. Like, I think oftentimes I have more pointed questions, like I want to understand something small at first, and I don't need 6,000 words to like understand one thing. But I think the point is the same in that it's like very easy to go from like 0 to like 50% understanding on a subject by kind of like, you can like step your way through the questions as they pop up of like, I don't understand this thing. Like, give me the quick overview, and then kind of walk down the line of like, okay, what about ABC and XYZ, and can make a lot of progress that way. I think within crypto though, it's like, I don't know, probably the bigger parts there is like, what are other people thinking about looking at? I think often like just digging around in like data that's maybe not surfaced to the crowd is where interesting tidbits can be found. I think we have like a pretty great data team at Blockworks. So I don't know, Sharples has been my guy, at least for like tacking onto new trends, seeing things in the trenches that maybe others aren't aware of are happening yet. So kind of a multifaceted answer. I think it's, and that's probably like a realistic answer, is like you kind of have to be doing a bunch of different things.
Yeah, I agree with all those. Unfortunately, I actually do think there's a lot of helpful stuff like in governance forums, a lot of like details, like for like new developments at least that are happening with protocols and other things, research wise. A lot of it's just like on-chain flows of some sort, and I don't think like AI is there yet. I think like once we get like an AI agent built into all like the block explorers and stuff like that, I think it's gonna be really helpful. I think Arkham actually has like a relatively good like transaction analysis tool, where it's like you can have it analyze a transaction, tell you exactly kind of what contract it flowed through or interacted with, where like the funds originated from. But then in terms of like AI for actual like research, I think it's just helpful for learning mainly. Like I don't think like, I think like you can clearly tell like the copy pasta slop, like that pops up all over Twitter. A lot of that AI, but I think there's a good question I just saw in the chat, Picaccio. Can I? So Fooder XBT. Question for Boccaccio. If Superman was Turkish, what would his civilian name be? It's a good one.
I actually
I
don't
can't
know.
answer this one. I don't know. I'm not Turkish, so but I'd be curious.
So I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
What would his civilian name be? Like it's Clark Kent in America, so like, what would his name be?
Apparently, it would be Typhoon.
See, now that's what the listeners tuned in for. They don't care how we do our slop.
Very good.
Did you guys actually see that? Did you guys see that they like test? I don't. Oh, Bach died. I don't know the like the exact specifics of this, but I guess for that new movie, they like did some test audience showing of a scene where he like saves the squirrel, and the test audiences were like upset. Like, why would he waste his time saving a squirrel? What a pointless, like they were mad about it. Like, what a pointless waste of Superman's powers. And the director, or like the producer or director, was like, no, I have to keep the scene in. It's so good. He needs to save the squirrel.
That's everyone who is sidelined from Ticker Peanut post
I don't
election.
know. I feel like
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. I still haven't gotten used to the Apple trackpad. If that makes sense. Are we doing question hour?
I actually watched the Superman movie last night and was wondering most of the time who actually enjoys this movie. But there's a lot of people giggling behind me, so apparently a lot of people do.
So, what honest take? What do you think? It was bad?
I mean, like, not like I wasn't miserable, but it wasn't good. It was industrial slop content.
Yeah, I don't even think this is a hot take anymore, but I feel like, we had whatever it was, the Avengers, and all the superhero movies just feel like, industrialized slop farming at this point. They've like perfected like the easy script model, and then they just like ship a couple of them out every year.
Yeah.
Do we have any other interesting questions in the chat? Let's do 10 minutes of question answer.
Yeah, drop your questions in there. I think Fooder really kind of set the bar.
No food questions.
Yeah, we got one that says, "Who are the mouth breathers that buy XRP? They love Ripple Labs dumping on their heads." I gotta wonder though, to that comment, like if you bought XRP the past couple of years, you're up like 10x. No,
Yeah, it's
you outperformed ETH by a wide margin. So I don't know. That might just be a little bit of a Kobe cope right there.
Did XRP outperformed Bitcoin since XRP launched?
No, I don't.
Since it launched, I don't.
Like if you were, let's say hypothetically, you were a fund named Arrington XRP Capital, you dropped the XRP from your name. Do you think if you would have stayed like Arrington XRP Capital and like your whole fund was just XRP, do you think you'd be the best performing liquid fund of all time?
Yes.
Crazy.
What was did XRP do an ICO? Back in the day? Like way back in the day. They must have.
Yes, right?
Wait.
We're looking it up. We're going to find this out live.
The thing with the ICOs is hilarious. Like there's still like, do you guys remember Gollum? There's like an Ethereum-based ICO. Like, there's a couple like Ethereum-based ICOs that like have hundreds of millions of dollars of like Ethereum. Still like they've had like, years and years and years of runway, and it's just kind of like sitting there. Yeah, that's a great opportunity.
Do they have a token?
Yeah, they have tokens. Gollum has a token. Another one is ticker RLC. R as in Richard, L as in Lewis, C as in Churchill.
How the fuck did he say it like that?
I can't find details about the sale price, but I am finding ROI from listing price 0.53x Bitcoin. So it's indicating to me that you would have underperformed Bitcoin still, but it is apparently still a 600x from the ICO. So it would have been a good outcome regardless.
Yeah, it looks like it listed at like $100 million market cap. And I'm sure there's some dilution in here too, but now trading at a $207 billion.
Oh, here we go. I hate reading numbers like this. Like 0.004 of a dollar. So like what, 0.004 of a penny as an ICO price. So yeah, the XRP ICO guys are doing pretty good.
They're getting upset with us because we brought up XRP. So if Rocket outperformed, then we should all sell our BTC and buy that, right?
I think didn't you just have a recent report on that, Bach?
I wrote about the Rocket potential.
Yeah.
I'm actually on the council for that one. I should probably disclose before.
It's funny. I actually wrote a 5,000 word report on meme coins last year. And a lot of them did quite well. So I don't know. I don't know if you have to sell all of your Bitcoin and ETH. That feels a bit drastic, but there's certainly been times to capture some upside regardless of like the, I don't know, perceived scamminess of the thing.
It looks like James Christoph has a very
AGI.
I think the best part about this question is that it's two questions. Is Talos considered AGI? Like crudely.
I think the second question's for you, Ian. First question.
Ian, can you answer him, please? Is it considered AGI? And if you were to answer it crudely, how would you answer it?
Can we get On-Chain Labs to comment? I'd like
I
to
was gonna
know.
say, I think that's out of my it's above my pay grade right there.
Like we know Zuck has been hiring for superintelligence labs at Meta, and I'm trying to understand if Talos is like in the same. We're talking like same ballpark, right? Like they're competing actually.
Yeah, I pinged on Chain Labs. I think I'm gonna have them on next week or the week after, maybe, and then we can talk about it there. It'll also generally be good to get another Arbitrum episode under the belt. I feel like we haven't done Arbitrum in a while. Only like I do all of the Ethereum ones, and then Danny does like the fun ones. Not that Ethereum isn't fun. I love Ethereum.
We've done Ethereum content without you. I get Mark on, and I just let him go. You just crank him up and you let him go.
You get Mark on, and then James Christoph prangs out in the chat. Hey man, you brought up Master being a safe play. What the
Actually, every time I bring Mark on and then we talk ETH, everyone gets mad and says, "Why are we talking about ETH again, man? Come on, I'm gonna crash out." And then you come up to me and you say, "I have to do all the ETH episodes because Danny won't do them." It's like, well, you keep telling me not to.
That's true. Who gets upset? I think that's just Ryan and all of his alts.
Yeah, he must be like 10% of our views right now.
I mean, he keeps asking about drift.
How many
on Slack said, "Can you talk about drift right now?" No, I can't talk about drift.
How many screens does Ryan work with on an average day?
How many what?
How many monitors does Ryan have?
I think typically 0 because he's always on the train asking asking me, "Hey, can you do this real quick for me? I'm not at my computer."
He does the same for me. Dude, Ryan fucking Connor, man. He goes on a walk and then he'll message 45 times saying, "Hey guys, can you take care of this?" It's honestly quite a powerful position to be in. Can you imagine? You just have Bach and Danny.
Yeah, I actually saw a tweet from him that said his most important part of due diligence is going for a walk. I believe that was Ryan Connor.
I believe that though. That's kind of based.
But I feel like that makes sense. Like sometimes I'll get this idea and then I'll do a 15-minute walk and I'm like, that was fucking stupid. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Something about going on a walk, it gets the brain flowing. Although maybe we should.
Kierkegaard talks about this. Just FYI. Everybody look it up.
I was gonna say on the drift point, like, I mean, it pumped the other day. Was there news? Is the market predicting some news?
We didn't do BAM.
Yeah, we didn't cover the whole reason that.
Well, we talked about it for an hour yesterday, so
I was gonna say that's the whole reason. Like everything kind of started moving when like that news came out essentially because it allows for essentially increased like cancels to be prioritized, other things like that. I mean, you guys should just have like Drift on honestly and let them talk about it too, like because I'm sure they've got some other things they're quite excited about, but. Maybe have Ryan on there too. Ryan Cashflow Connor seems to be quite the drift bull.
What I find interesting is that when I'm looking at the drift chart, and probably would find this in other charts as well prior to announcements, is that the announcement of BAM did not come until yesterday morning US time, but the token pumped the evening beforehand. I'm not saying it's drift, guys, but it's just like, you know.
It's efficient market hypothesis.
We're getting this, the market is really getting efficient, especially around Treasury codes as well. We see those stocks really like to pump a day or two before the announcements come out.
Yeah. Ryan has a great piece on drift if anybody's interested. It's on the Blockworks Research portal. Danny, I'm going to pull up.
You're going to silence me for speaking out.
No, dude, you can speak as much as you want.
Can he be explicit in nature?
Yeah, Drift OI doubled yesterday.
He's coding this right now?
Tripled yesterday.
Jarvis.
Drift OI tripled?
Yeah.
Like for the whole exchange or for the token?
For the token on Binance.
Okay. at the announcement, right after the announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Maybe the other question is like, did any other tokens see some movement off the BAM announcement? Because it's like it doesn't feel like it's confined to Drift, right?
I think that's the most obvious one though, because like the whole thing with Solana has been like decentralized NASDAQ, and the only thing that's really taken off so far from the financial standpoint has been like launch pads and meme coin trading for the most part. But if you want to have like an actual real perpetual like futures exchange on, or like any sort of club really on like the L1 itself, you need BAM.
Zex also moved actually yesterday.
I didn't listen to BAM stuff at all. It was way above my head. I'm too stupid. And like James said, is this just nerdy shit we're talking about? Like, Ian, can you give me like 5 bullet points on why BAM is good for stuff?
There's a whole blog post on it, but I mean, like, 5 bullet points. Let's see.
Pull up the blog post and read it off, Ian.
I was gonna say, like, I think you can just go read the whole article, but I think like the really interesting thing that came, or listen to the entire live stream they did with Lucas yesterday. I mean, but I think the really interesting thing was in that blog post at like the very end, there's like that tidbit around them saying essentially like all revenue from like the Judo block engine and BAM will now go to the DAO. So like no more labs foundation split. And I think that's like a huge market catalyst. But yeah, sorry, Block, you're catching me. I'm a little fatigued right now. I could do 1 bullet point. Maybe.
Yeah, do it.
I could do better ordering and execution.
I do think I'll throw my hat in the ring here on an attempt. maybe I can outdo Ian slightly, but I think the interesting thing is around like having some additional like capability from like a custom execution or like transaction processing perspective. So I don't know, we saw these teams that were starting to get more and more on like the, let's make our own like custom SVM chain to like build a particular product that's a little more opinionated in how we handle transactions or build an app around it. And it seems to me like this is just like a clear kind of push back in the opposite direction of like, no, we want you guys to just build it on Sol, which I think is like, it should be theoretically bullish any like app team on Sol. Hypothetically, they can make more differentiated custom products on the chain.
Solana did rally pretty hard yesterday from the announcement.
But isn't it bad for Solana?
Why would you say that?
No reason. We'll get back to this in 2 months.
I think bad for fees in the short term isn't necessarily like bad for a platform in the long run too. It's like, especially right now, like if it's not being used for everything.
Why it wouldn't be bad for fees though in general though? Like you're giving more flexibility and customization for applications. The more you allow like the user experience to improve. I essentially just kind of, I mean, I'm gonna reason by analogy here. All right, so stick with me. I might arrive at the wrong conclusion, I do, but they steer me in the right direction.
Good hedge.
But like the way I kind of look at it is like just like widening the highway, more or less. And like in America, everyone was like, "You widen the highway
with 0.0."
No, that's not widening the highway. That's faster. That's faster packets. This is essentially like, like you're going to allow for more types of applications to be built. Like right now, like I said, like it's the majority of activities like meme coin trading. If we want to like evolve past like meme coin trading and have all these other like interesting things, you do need like, go ahead, Block.
No, finish up. This is for after you.
It's like adding an HOV lane.
Can't even focus on Box, just going like this the whole time.
Just interrupting Ian. It's crazy.
But yeah.
I feel it, Ian. You're taking the highway. Maybe let's say there already is a highway. You're adding an HOV lane. You're saying, hey, let's also build like a train that runs alongside it.
It's not an HOV lane, Danny.
So this is our problem. We were trying to reason by analogy here, and we already arrived at the wrong conclusion.
But it is kind of an HOV lane. There's like some custom logic for different types of execution that, like, sure, maybe it's not actually in a different lane, but it's like enabling slightly different types of things to happen within
Yeah.
this marketplace.
Can I ask a very simple question? Will this lead to lower priority tips and fees? Guys, very simple.
I don't know. I think we have to wait and see, honestly. Like,
I'll wait and
because
see, make a judgment. Give me an answer. It's black or
I
white.
think okay. A year from now, will we have more or less? I would say more.
More
Because, like,
priority fees?
You mean
Yeah.
in aggregate or like the average person paying?
in aggregate, like it's going
Okay.
like not like the average person paying. I think there will be less, but like I do ultimately think like this is going to allow for like proper trading applications to be built on the L1. When you build like proper applications that people want to use, you're going to like just attract more users. If you improve the user experience, you're going to get more users. I don't think it's like that complex, and I also don't think we should like no one should be worried about like people paying less in fees in general, though. Like on like the per user transaction, like if I'm paying less, like that's ultimately a good thing. But like in aggregate, I think you're just gonna have like more actual transactions taking place. And like as an individual user, I think you're gonna have like just a better overall experience. You're gonna have like you're gonna experience less negative MEV, all these sorts of things. So I mean, in aggregate, I think it's like a huge improvement, and it will ultimately lead, in my opinion, to more aggregate rev for the network.
Okay, but we value Solana, on rev, and in the short to medium term, unless there's a drastic improvement in users, then aggregate REV goes down, correct?
Yeah, but I think again that's kind of annualizing like a 1 month.
We love to annualize one-day activity, though. That's our favorite.
You're gonna have both at the same time. Like the Jito block engine and BAM are going to be run in parallel with each other. Yeah, boom, boom. And so like you're still gonna have tips, and like the block engine is definitely gonna be able to help people that are looking to be like trading meme coins until someone builds like a plugin for that. But I think like the obvious thing is like it's going to be good for like applications like Drift that have like definitely struggled to compete with like applications like Hyperliquid, because you can't do what Hyperliquid can do on Solana.
Can I make yes? This makes sense. Teddy, speak, and then I will speak.
Yeah, in 2023, if you had made the argument that Solana fees are lower than Ethereum fees, and that's just how you're gonna trade it, I think that you would have missed out on the fact that the pie is so small right now that like creating a better user experience kind of outweighs getting your average fee higher.
Well, Lucas told me yesterday on the live stream that they can 3x TPS. So
well, to be fair, I listened to that bit, and Ryan forced them to say
I know.
Say TPS.
Give me a number. And then he caveated it 1,000,000 times, but yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I want to say one thing about the Hyperliquid thing, and then we can end it. I think I'm
Of
tired.
course.
But that whole thing of like user experience, I'm not cancels matter, yes, but I also think that a large part of the reason why Hyperliquid is doing well is because they just offer markets that other DEXs don't offer. Like they're first to go live. I think they have like 250 markets. Drift has 60 to 70, which is a massive difference. Like you could trade Pump 2 days, 3 days before it launched, like in pre-market as a hyperp, and then as the regular market on Hyperliquid. They were first to list Melania and Trump. They're first to list a lot of tokens. So I think that's the main difference. But I mean, obviously that depends on market makers, and that depends on cancels. So
yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not trying to say like.
You really hurt my feelings there. You're trying to say.
It happens every time. Every time we can't have a conversation around Solana without first like being like, well, Hyperliquid is very beautiful. First of all, let's establish that.
Hey man, Hyperliquid's great.
I'm gonna steal man for Ryan. He would say that's backward looking. That if they need to grow before they can add a couple hundred more markets because of the current size of the platform, like it might just be a limitation today. I don't know that they could list all the same markets because they might not have enough of trading volume or liquidity today to do that.
Yeah, and this is what I would say to Ryan. I would say, Ryan, but Drift has hybrid. It has an AMM and an order book, so it should be listing Solana tokens as soon as it can because it has an AMM system. So
also like there's so many more incentives to be trading on Hyperliquid as it is right now. Like they also just like got the token economic model right from like the start. The token ran up a ton. They gave it to all their largest traders, and then you can margin against your airdrop that you maybe haven't sold, all of at least. And so, I mean, like that's great. Like there's a ton of things that are going for Hyperliquid that like any other perp exchange it's gonna be an uphill battle for them. Like the listings included, like that's how Binance got to where it is today. It's just like they were first to all these markets, and you're first to all like what is initially like the longer tail assets. Then you kind of just monopolize like all the capital on your platform over a long enough period of time. And then also like with the stuff they have with like HFP3, I think it's super interesting too. But like, I don't want to turn it into like a Drift versus Hyperliquid situation because that's not what it is ultimately. Like, I think like the takeaway should just be like the user improvement to have Drift be more competitive to Hyperliquid than it is today. That definitely like is happening for sure. Like, and also like everyone's gonna want to comp themselves to the king no matter what, and Hyperliquid's king. So like everyone sees like what's their FDV right now? Like Bach, you might know, or just market cap in general. Like it's in the billions. Like it's a massive success. Has like unfathomable.
It should be like 43 billion for FDV.
Yeah, so everyone's gonna be wanting to get to a place that's like that. Like we also saw like a couple of weeks ago, and all of like crypto Twitter was like just freaking out over clubs.
Dude,
but I think
I was gonna daily aneurysms during that time because it was just Nick White quoting himself and saying, "You could build this on TIA using blobs, ZK proof right now."
Clubs on blobs, baby.
Clubs on blobs.
Sorry, Ian, I cut you off again. Please finish.
That's it. Boccaccio already finished.
You've been filled. Very good. Okay, guys, I think that's it for today. Let's end it on that. Do we have anything else we need to chat about?
We've been fully filled for the day, so
Fully filled for today.
All our orders are in.
Ian, Teddy, thanks for coming on. To our listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day. Danny, how do you end these things? Is this
it? Yes. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.